bring in Charles Barkley, the Hall of Famer, and proud. He's not an Auburn grad, but he went to Auburn for a couple of years. Charles, good morning. How are you?
3 years, but I think I'm doing pretty good for a college dropout.
Did they
I'm
give
doing
you
really good for a college dropout, Dan? Stop it.
Did they give you an honorary degree at Auburn?
No, we don't do those. You have to be smart to go to Auburn. Hey, but listen, like I say, I'm doing pretty good for a college dropout, you think?
What did you do for Thanksgiving?
I had a bunch of people at my house bugging the hell out of me. There's a great restaurant in Arizona called Baby K's. They do 2 deep-fried turkeys, and I had a bunch of people over.
That's in Scottsdale.
Yes.
Nice. And how excited were you when Auburn beat Alabama?
It was awesome, brother. It's always fun to go to the Iron Bowl. I was there, and it was a beautiful day, perfect weather. So I was glad to share it with my boys.
Did Alabama recruit you?
They did, but they had signed a guy named Barkley, who was the best high school player in the country, and they had a guy named Eddie Phillips who was a stud, and I didn't think I could get to play there. But I made a great decision. Auburn's the best thing ever happened to me as far as the decision.
If you didn't go to Auburn, where were you going?
It was either going to be UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham. They had Gene Bartow. So it was either going to be that, because I was really close with my mother and grandmother. So I was going to stay close so they could see me play all the home games. So it was going to. I made a great decision going to Auburn. It was going to be Alabama. It was actually going to be one of the 3, to be honest with you: Alabama, Auburn, or UAB. But I made the best decision.
Did they try to get you to play football in high school?
I played football in high school one day. That was the worst day of my life.
What
Them boys are really hitting out there. Yeah, I did. I played football one day. I'm not made to play football. The reason football and boxing are my 2 favorite sports, it takes a true warrior to go out there. I mean, it does. I mean, I respect football players. I do, and I respect boxers because, man, when you go out there, it's a real deal. They're not out there joking around.
What kind of football player would Shaq have made?
Oh, Flat Stanley? No, okay, come on, man. He's softer than soft. Come on, man. You know he can't play football.
He's a big dude.
He is a big dude. That's just more to hit. That's just more to hit, brother.
Hey,
what position would he play? Think about that. I mean, he could probably a big offensive lineman, but that's pretty much it. But he can't play on offense. That's just too much space to hit.
I would think like a defensive tackle, because he doesn't have to get after the passer. He can just stand up and put his arms up.
Oh, Lord. Dan, come on, man. You disrespecting football players now.
I don't know. Shaq's pretty athletic.
He was. He was in the day. But he's so big, it would have been tough for him to do it, brother.
I don't know. I wanted to ask you about this. You got teams scoring 130, 140, 150 points. It's fun, but what changed in the NBA?
Well, we got a lot of bad teams. I think we all been disappointed in the level of basketball so far this year. When the season started, we had high hopes for a bunch of teams, and they're just not shown up. And the bad teams are really bad. And when you factor in no defense, teams and you can have one of those nights where you make some threes against a bad team, you're going to have a lot of blowouts.
But 150 points.
Well, that's inexcusable, Dan. That's just bad team, bad defense. I mean, you got no pride. I mean, seriously, when you give up that many points, you really don't have any pride defensively. I mean, that's when you're giving up. I think they had 80 points at halftime.
Yeah.
When you're doing that, you're not even trying defensively.
But it feels like there's a new philosophy. Instead of milking the shot clock to get a shot off in 7 seconds, or like everybody's sort of adopting what the Rockets have done with Mike D'Antoni.
Well, I think it's actually they trying to adopt what the Warriors did when they won a championship X amount of years ago. Everybody's just shooting threes as quick as possible now. There's no mid-range game, and you just shooting threes. And you see Dan, I said something last year. The Warriors, they had the three greatest shooters who probably ever lived. There were 7 teams in the NBA shoot more threes than the than the Warriors. That's absurd. How can the team with the 3 greatest shooters who ever lived, how can you have bad basketball players shoot more threes than those guys? I mean, think about it, Dan.
I know.
I mean, the Rockets are an anomaly because that's the way they do. But there were 6 other teams in the NBA shoot more threes than the Warriors. That's absurd. I mean, it's just flat out absurd, plain and simple.
You all in on Luka Doncic?
Yeah, I like him. I like to see him get Porzingis involved more. I watched him play a couple times. Like Luka's balling, but I would really like to see him get Porzingis more involved. And also, I like to see him, especially when Luka's not in the game, because I watched him play last week against the Clippers, and they just got stomped when Luka couldn't do his thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, feel free to pass the ball to Porzingis to get him going. He's a stud. But when they played the Clippers last week, I watched the entire game, took notes and everything, and Luka had an awful game because those guys got the 2 best perimeter defenders in the world on one team, but they never passed the ball to Porzingis except when he's standing at the 3-point line. I mean, I've run some plays to get him the ball down low, to get him some easy baskets. But they don't do that. They just get a ball to Luka and say, "Go do it," and that's not going to work against the good teams.
James Harden, he got 60 points in 31 minutes. Should he be pacing himself? Because this is my big knock on the Rockets and James Harden. Once we get to April, May, then it feels like they run out of gas.
No, they're just playing against the better teams. And that's the thing about the playoffs, Dan. That's when you play against the good teams who have strategy, who have coaching, who not going to let you do everything you want to do. I don't think they run out. I mean, nobody runs out of gas. I mean, you're playing every 2 or 3 days, so you're not tired. But the other team's like, nope, you're going to do something different. We're not going to let you the refs don't call as many free throws. I bet if you look at James Harden free throws, he's probably shooting 5 to 7 less free throws a game in the playoffs than he does during the regular season. Because the refs let you play just a little bit more. But the main thing is you're just playing against the best teams.
But, man, you put up 60 in 31 minutes of work. I've
said this. I said, first of all, I'm not comparing James Harden to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. But James Harden is the best offensive player I've ever seen with today's rules. With the 3, he's a terrific 3 shooter when he gets it going. He can drive. He's physically strong. But when I said that last year, people looked at me like I was crazy. I said, this guy's the greatest offensive force we've ever had in the NBA from a little guy. I mean, Kareem's the greatest, him and Wilt are the greatest scorers and for big guys. But as far as guards, this dude is the best offensive player ever. Because Michael and Kobe weren't great 3-point shooter. James is a really good 3-point shooter. And he can drive on anybody because he's got a great body. I mean, he's strong. He's athletic. I mean, he has it all.
Yeah, he invites contact. And, Jeff Van Gundy was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he said that you can't have your hands in front of you guarding Harden because Harden will always initiate contact. Van Gundy said, have your hands out to the side and let him take the 3-point shot. You have to choose. You can't try to shut him down on both, going inside or shooting threes. He doesn't miss free throws. I don't want him in the lane at all. And if he's going to take the 3 and he puts up 25 threes, then okay, I'm going to have to try to survive with that. What do you think of that logic?
I don't like that logic to a certain degree. I like what the Denver Nuggets. He's played against 2 teams in the last 2 weeks who doubled him every single time when he ran the pick and roll. I would play him like that. Because those other guys ain't good enough. I mean, passing the ball to Clint Capella at the top of the key is not going to hurt you. But they played against the Denver Nuggets about a week and a half ago. They doubled him every single time. And I forget the second team that did it. Both of them teams beat him pretty good. I would double him every single time. Says, okay, Capella, anybody else can make a play. I don't think they can make enough plays to win 4 out of 7, but I would double James Harden every single play.
Go back to today's rules with Harden. It feels like Kobe might benefit more from today's rules than Michael would. It feels like Kobe had a little more extended game, and this isn't fair to Mike, who, if he was coming up now, would develop a better outside shot or a three. It felt like Kobe in today's rules would probably be more effective than Mike.
I don't know about that, because Michael would shoot 25 free throws a game. That's the difference. You can't, with no hand checking, both of those guys would shoot a lot more free throws. They'd be shooting the same number of free throws that James shoot. The only difference is I think James a better, probably consistent three-point shooter. Michael was a good jump shooter, but I don't think he was a great three-point shooter. And Kobe, I don't think he was a great three-point shooter. But just for the record, those two guys are better than James. I don't want to disrespect those guys. But the way the rules are today, where you can't touch anybody, and the way James can get on the streak shooting threes, he's the greatest offensive player I've ever seen, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I said it last year. I said, it might be a style that you're not interested in watching. I'm fascinated by it. But I am disappointed in defenses sometimes, because if I ever see James Harden isolated, I want to throw something at the TV, because he should never have an isolation. You should always send somebody at him. And I see these poor young players, and they're out there, and they have no chance against him. And so some of it is coaching. A lot of it is, the league feels young, inexperienced. And Harden is brilliant. He really he knows how to rig the system for him, and he's done an unbelievable job.
Well, the thing about it is, if you let him play one-on-one, he's going to get a shot every time, a good shot. I've always said a great offensive player either going to score, get fouled, or get a good shot. He's going to be 3 for 3. He might not make the shot, but a Michael Jordan, a Kobe, a Kevin Durant, guys like that who are great scorers, they're going to get a shot. Now, they might not make the shot, but when you got guys who are that gifted offensively, like I say, they're either going to get a good shot, they're going to score, or they're going to get fouled. So, and that's always an advantage for a great scorer. But I would never let James play one-on-one, because like I say, he's going to get your team in foul trouble. And I will say this, he's probably the best player I've ever seen who makes contact. Allen Iverson was great at it. Allen Iverson bumped you 100% of the time when he was coming at your full speed. You just didn't notice it because he was so slight. But James is so physical. He hits you every time the same way, and you notice it because he's so physical. But Allen Iverson, I used to watch him and study him on tape at times. He bumped you every single time. That's one of the reasons he was great. Even though he was little, all he had to do was get you off him a little bit. He bumped you every single time. And that's what great offensive players do. That's why people always say, well, the stars always get the calls. I said, well, first of all, that is some truth to that. But all great offensive players always make contact with the defense. And they get pissed when the ref don't call it. That's why they always look like they're complaining. I tell people all the time, like, anytime I made a move, I wanted to hit the guy. I didn't want to knock him down. I wanted to knock him off balance a little bit so I could get my shot off. So when the ref calls it probably 62%, 3% of the time, but the other 40% when he didn't call it out, you see guys jumping up and down. But if they would actually sit down and look at the tape, they're the one making contact with the defense, Dan.
Yeah, I know. Harden's great at initiating contact. George Gervin was on the show a couple of years ago, and I said, who was the guy that you saw that game and you knew you couldn't wait to get to the arena because that guy was guarding you? And he said Kevin Greavy. And he said it in a way, he goes, Kevin Greavy. Like he knew he was putting up 40 on Kevin Greavy. Who was the guy that you knew you were going to have you couldn't wait to face?
I will tell you this. I hated Kevin McHale because he's the best player I ever played against. He's the one guy who was so much bigger than me with his long arms and his great moves. I had a difficult time guarding him. And then on the other end, he was so long, he was so long. It was tough for me to get my shot off if I had to face him up.
But who was easy? Who was the guy you went, I'm putting up a big number tonight?
Dan, I'll be honest with you, I ain't going to lie. I felt like that against everybody. But I'll tell you the one guy I hated. The one guy who kicked my butt all the time was Popeye Jones. I used to hate that dude. And I have no idea why. I have no idea why, because he wasn't very athletic, but for some reason he knew all the little tricks, and he drove me crazy when I played against him. He kicked my butt more probably than any player that I played against.
Well, you probably wanted Bird to guard you, didn't you?
Oh, Larry Bird didn't want any of this. Come on, brother. Hey, he's Larry Legend, but not on the defensive end.
You probably didn't want any piece of that off, with his offense, though.
He was great. But like I say, in my day, it was a challenge to play against him. Nobody's going to stop a great player.
Yeah.
But listen, I'd rather play against him than Kevin McHale. Because Kevin was just so much bigger than me with those long guns. And Kevin, to this day, other than Tim Duncan, had the best low post moves of any power forward to ever play the game. It was a lot easier for me to guard Larry Bird because they had to set picks and things for him. Because he would never stop moving. But he wasn't, Larry, as great as he was, now he wasn't one of those guys say, hey, here's the ball, score. And those are the guys that's a nightmare. Like James Harden, you're like, hey, here's the ball, score. And everybody know he's going to get it, and he still can score, get a good shot. But Larry wasn't like that. He'd be moving all around. You turn your head for a second, and he's over there in that corner. He done ran off 2 picks off McHale and Paris pick, and he's in the other corner. You turned your head for a split second. He reminded me of Reggie Miller, who never stopped moving, Ray Allen, Klay Thompson's like that, guys who never stop moving. Those are the tough guys because, they always say you're supposed to keep one eye on your man in the ball. I'm like, well, first of all, that's not possible all the time. You got to turn your head for a split second. And when you look around, your man's in the other corner. It's not a comfortable feeling.
Chuck, great to talk to you. Congrats on Auburn's win against Alabama, and we'll catch up with you soon.
All right, brother. Appreciate y'all. You guys have a great Christmas here.
Thank you, Chuck. That's Charles Barkley.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.